It's important for us to consider the attitude that's to motivate us when we discipline our children. We know we're called to discipline our children. We've talked about that in the past video. It's our calling as parents. But how are we to administer that discipline? Well, look at Ephesians 6 with me. Ephesians 6:1 says, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your mother and father, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with you, and you may live long on the earth. And you fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in the training and admonition of the Lord." So first of all, children are to obey their parents. Children are called to be obedient to their parents, which implies that there's rules to obey. That implies that we have set standards, that we have communicated to our children what is acceptable and what is not acceptable behavior. And so I would say, you just think about this. When Moses came down from the mountain and brought the 10 Commandments to the people, they were engraved on tablets of stone by God. I mean, what if you were to sit down with your spouse and agree upon the rules for your family and for your children, and maybe get a poster board or something and put them on the refrigerator? What are our family values and what are our rules? Like perhaps number one, we will always speak respectfully, and then describe what that looks like. We will always do our chores and contribute to the family and explain what that looks like. I mean, whatever the rules are that you think are important that communicate your values, establish those with your children and communicate them and make them plain, and then enforce them if there's disobedience to them. Children are called to be obedient. That means we're to have rules. He says, honor your father and mother. We're called to live honorably. We need to carry ourselves in a manner that's respectable to our children. And if we make a mistake, we apologize, but we need to carry ourselves in such a way. Don't ask your children to do something that you're not doing, and then expect them to honor you. You have to expect this from your children. You're not going to talk to me like that. I'm not going to accept that kind of an attitude from you. It's not just about having a big ego as a parent. It's saying, I need you to learn to honor me because I want you to learn how to honor authority in your life. You're not going to be healthy. You're not going to be productive. You're not going to move forward well in life if you can't show respect to your own parents. And then finally, he says, you fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath. We're not trying to grind our children. We're not trying to crush our children. We're not trying to break our children in that sense. We're not trying to frustrate them. No, he says not to do that. Don't provoke them to wrath. Don't be unnecessarily harsh. But he says here that we are to train them up in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord. Let me read it again because I'm getting different versions in my mind here. But bring them up in the training and admonition of the Lord. Raise your children to know the Lord. Raise your children in the love of God. Bring your children up in a household of faith, in a community of faith, a church. Train them about the things of God. Love them and nurture them. Correct them for their own benefit, just like God does for us. Amen.